Hey guys, and welcome to my Titania DPS build. If you want to skip to the build right now, then be sure to refer to the timestamps displayed on your screen right now. Anyway, if I were to put Titania in a certain category of Warframes, it would be the underappreciated and underused. Why will I say that? Because during Plague Star, if you want to solo this event and dealing with Hemocytes more efficiently, Titania is one of the best picks you can have, assuming that you have Titania of course. The reason being Razorwing, her fourth ability which basically gives her a lot of mobility, really high DPS and as well as flight, which makes moving around more easier and dealing with Hemocytes 3 different hits. But outside of Plague Star, well, you might catch a few Titania players on rescue missions, but if it were other missions like defense, survival, interception or even disruption, I don't think you can actually find a Titania player 90% of the time. Anyway, let's get started. We're going to be talking about her Razorwing ability later, and then going to her build, and finally the demonstration, or the benchmark if you prefer. The only ability I want to talk about in this video is just going to be Razorwing. Of course, because this build is mainly focused on this ability. So when you cast Razorwing, it's going to give you a few different things. First of all, it summons two exalted weapons for you, the Dexpixia and the Diwata, otherwise known as the sword that nobody actually uses. It spawns a set of Razorflies, which are essentially sentries that can help to kill enemies nearby. And according to Warframe Wiki, it can actually heal you. After 2k hours of playing Warframe, I finally find out about this. It gives you a passive 50% evasion bonus and as well as a 10-meter vacuum radius. And as you can see, there is a lot of things going on when you just cast Razorwing. But I'm not done yet, because this ability also has a minor synergy with Tribute, which is your second ability. Depending on the amount of Tribute buffs you have, it will spawn additional Razorflies for you, up to 4 maximum. Now, Razorwing is good and all, there's a lot of things going on, but I just want to talk about Dexpixia. This is pretty much the sole reason why people use Titania, or more accurately, only using Razorwing. It's because of Dexpixia. The amount of damage output from this weapon alone is insane. The Dexpixia's damage distribution is mainly slash, which is really great for almost every faction in the game. It has a pretty high fire rate, which contributes to her overall DPS. It also has 25% status chance, 10% crit chance, and 2 times crit multiplier. The good thing about that 25% status chance is that you can actually bring it up to 99% if you wanted to with 4 dual stat mods. And keep in mind, this is the most important thing I want to tell you. The Dexpixia is a secondary weapon. Don't confuse the Dexpixia with a primary weapon, because if you try to use arcanes that are built for primary weapons, it would just not work. You should use something like Arcane Velocity, which adds extra fire rate and can be really devastating due to this weapon's naturally high status chance and as well as a pretty fast fire rate. If you didn't know, having a weapon which has a high status chance and a fast fire rate is going to help you to consistently and repeatedly proc the same thing over and over again, which would be that slash damage, and anything else you add on top of it, like corrosive damage, gas damage, viral, whatever. On the other hand, Diwata, as I said, the sword that nobody actually uses, because you can't put amalgam mods and as well as blood rush into this weapon, it doesn't make it powerful anymore. Sure, you can use condition overload in it, but it's not going to be enough. Test it for yourself and you can see. Anyway, let's just get on to the build. This is my 3 Forma Titania build. The purpose of this build is to have a high power strength, which can buff your Razorwing a lot, high efficiency and duration to keep your Razorwing active for a very long time. Range isn't really necessary in this build because, first of all, the Dexpixia doesn't even have a range limit to it. It's a gun after all, so you shouldn't really worry about range, unless you do plan to cast something else other than Razorwing. So we have Augur Secrets, Intensify, Transient Fortitude, and Power Drift. These 4 mods would give you power strength, contributing to your overall DPS when Razorwing is active. Next, we have a rank 3 fleeting expertise and as well as streamline to provide that 170% power efficiency, which can help you to cast abilities with a much lower energy cost. And it also helps a Razorwing to be active, up and going for a very long time. In other words, lower energy drain. Important thing here. Next up, we have Primed Continuity and Narrow-Minded. This gives you just enough duration for your other abilities and as well as sustaining your Razorwing. And then we have Vitality for survivability. Finally, Corrosive Projection for that sweet armor removal. I do want to note that if you have all maxed out mods, then you might need to install another format. Shouldn't be a big deal because leveling up Titania is fairly easy compared to other frames. The arcane choice for this build would be Arcane Energize, which gives you extra energy upon picking up an energy orb, and as well as Arcane Velocity, which is very important. Whenever you crit, you have a chance to increase fire rate for your secondary weapons. Now going over to the next picks here, we have, well, the usual mods here. Hornet Strike, which basically gives you extra damage, Lethal Torrent and Barrel Diffusion, which gives you multi-shot and fire rate, the 4 elemental mods here, which are Pathogen Rounds, Pistol Pestilence, Jolt and Scorch. These mods will make up heat and corrosive damage, but if you want to, you can swap Pistol Pestilence to make up corrosive and blast damage instead, but that is just personal preference. Finally, we have Target Cracker for extra crit damage. So you might be thinking, why are you not using primed Target Cracker? Let me tell you this, using the regular Target Cracker is actually more than enough for Dexpixia. I will show it in the demonstrations later. And coming back to the 4 status mod, you can actually switch up the order and play around with the arrangements to make up the elements that you want. Similarly, you can also replace all the 60-60 mods to become 90% elemental mods, which is also personal preference, but I would prefer having more status chance in my Dexpixia, especially when this weapon has the ability to fire extremely fast under the extra fire rate of Lethal Torrent and from Arcane Velocity's buff. Having the ability to reproc the same status effects over and over again at a really fast speed is super beneficial. Talk about corrosive damage. You want to strip the enemy's armor fast? Then just keep on landing corrosive damage on your enemy. That's it. And that is why we have 96% status chance in this build. If you want to put these 90% elemental mods, it's fine, but that just means you're going for a raw damage build. I personally don't prefer that kind of builds. Now, I don't think I need to explain any further for Dexpixia, because if you want to know how well it works, then just watch the demonstrations later. Now moving on to the final build, which would be the Dewata build. So first of all, we have Enduring Affliction, which I have no idea what this mod does, and I'm just kidding, this is not a real build. I made this up because I don't even use the Dewata, so having a meme build like this doesn't really matter to me. So anyway, this is my Dewata build if I were to actually use it. As you can see, a very normal build. You have Condition Overload, which increases 120% melee damage for every status type afflicting the target. Primed Reach increases your attack range. Berserker, which provides a chance to increase attack speed whenever you land a critical hit. Volcanic Edge, Vicious Frost and Virulent Scourge. These 3 60-60 mods here are just to increase your status chance to a pretty acceptable level to proc viral and heat damage consistently. You also have Primed Fever Strike, which is just to increase your raw damage output. Finally, we have Organ Shatter, which increases your critical multiplier. This is a pretty generic melee 3.0 build, but if you're talking about the Dewata, having such a build like this probably won't be enough to convince you to start using the Dewata, because the Dexpixia is literally overpowering the Dewata by a huge margin that it makes this melee weapon pretty much irrelevant and no reason to use this at all. Of course, if you're talking about emergency quick melee slashes, it might be useful in that way, but other than that, meh. Now I'm done with all the 3 builds. Let's go over to the demonstration, because this is pretty much the proof that this build would actually work. So the usual victims again, which are level 150 heavy gunners and bombards in a single test. And then for the corpus enemies, I've changed it up a little bit. Instead of having just corpus techs, now we have a mix of corpus enemies but in their Aximus forms instead. Let's get started. Alright, that's pretty much it for today's video. I know it's a pretty long one since I came back to Warframe, but it's mainly because of all the extra explanation I had to do for you guys. Because in case there was somebody who didn't know what Razorwing does, they might have left my Warframe and watched another YouTuber's videos, which is watch time is important. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, then be sure to smash that like button, comment something nice, and definitely subscribe to this channel. If you want to support me, then be sure to check out my Patreon page in the link in the description below. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in another video. Goodbye.